Style and influence. Beck at the 2009 MOJO Awards described by Rolling Stone as one of the most influential lead guitarists in rock. Beck cited his major influences as Les Paul, The Shadows, Cliff Gallup, Ravi Shankar, Roy Buchanan, Chet Atkins, Django Reinhardt, Steve Cropper, and Lonnie Mack. Beck said John McLaughlin has given us so many different facets of the guitar and introduced thousands of us to world music by blending Indian music with jazz and classical. I'd say he was the best guitarist alive, according to musicologist and historian Bob Gullah. Beck is credited for popularizing the use of audio feedback and distortion in rock guitar. Before Beck's arrival, guitar playing generally conformed to the clean, bright, and jangly sounds of early British invasion bands or the bluesy aesthetic of African-American performers like Muddy Waters and Bo Diddley. During his short time with the Yardbirds, Beck's experimentation with feedback, distortion, and fuzz tone pushed the band into directions that would open the door for psychedelic rock while jolt British rock forward, according to Gullah. While Beck was not the first rock guitarist to experiment with electronic distortion, he nonetheless helped to redefine the sound and role of the electric guitar in rock music. Beck's work with the Yardbirds and the Jeff Beck Group's 1968 album Truth were seminal influences on heavy metal music, which emerged in full force in the early years. Gullah identifies one of Beck's characteristic traits to be his sense of pitch, particularly in exercising the whammy bar to create sounds ranging from nose-diving bombs to subtle, perfectly pitched harmonic melodies. According to guitarist and author Jack Wilkins, Beck is regarded alongside Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton as one of his generation's greatest guitarists, receiving praise for his technical skill and versatile playing. Stephen Thomas Erlewine finds him to be as innovative as Jimmy Page, as tasteful as Eric Clapton, and nearly as visionary as Jimi Hendrix, although unable to achieve their mainstream success, primarily because of the haphazard way he approached his career while often lacking a star singer to help make his music more accessible. On his recorded output by 1991, Erlewine remarked that never has such a gifted musician had such a spotty discography, believing Beck had largely released remarkably uneven solo records and only a few terrific albums. In Kriska's Record Guide 1981, Robert Kriska essentialized Beck as a technician and questioned his ability to improvise long lines, or jazz it up with a modicum of delicacy, or for that matter get funky, although he later observed a customary focus, loyalty, and consistency of taste. In 2015, Beck was ranked No. 5 in Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest guitarists. In an accompanying essay, guitarist Mike Campbell applauded Beck for his brilliant technique and personality in his playing, including the sense of humor expressed through the growl of his wah-wah effects. Campbell also credited Beck with expanding the boundaries of the blues, particularly in his two collaborations with Stewart. Technique and equipment. Beck stopped the regular use of a guitar pick in the years. He produced a wide variety of sounds by using his thumb to pluck the strings, his ring finger on the volume knob, and his little finger on the vibrato bar on his signature Fender Stratocaster. By plucking a string and then fading in the sound with the volume knob, he created a unique sound that can resemble a human voice, among other effects. He frequently used a wah-wah pedal both live and in the studio. Eric Clapton once said, with Jeff, "It's all in his hands." Along with Stratocasters, Beck occasionally played Fender Telecaster and Gibson Les Paul models as well. His amplifiers were primarily Fender and Marshall. In his earlier days with the Yardbirds, Beck also used a 1954 Fender Esquire guitar now owned by Seymour W. Duncan and housed in the Cleveland Rock and Roll Hall of Fame through Voxix. He also played through a variety of fuzz pedals and echo units along with the setup and used the Pro Co-RAT distortion pedal. The pickup is based on a Gibson pickup wound by Duncan and used in a salvaged Telecaster dubbed the Tele-Gib, which he had constructed as a gift to Beck. Scott Morgan of the Rationals, who at one point shared a dressing room with the Yardbirds, recalls how Beck amplified his lead guitar through a Vox Super Beetle while using banjo strings for the unwound G string on his guitar because they didn't make sets with an unwound G at that point. Personal life. Beck lived in a Grade II listed house called Riverhull in Wathurst, East Sussex. He married Sandra Cash in 2005. Beck became a vegetarian in 1969 and was a patron of the Folly Wildlife Rescue Trust. He also had an interest in classic Ford hot rods, performing much of the work on the exteriors and engines of the cars by himself. Beck died from bacterial meningitis at a hospital near Riverhull on 10 January 2023 at the age of 78.